This is video tutorial number 5, and it's on how to insert, name, link, and delete a task. This tutorial video will present 1. How to insert a task, 2. How to name and link a task, and 3. How to delete a task. The minimum requirements template was created to provide a level of standardization for design schedules. Directive requirement number 1 states that all tasks identified in the minimum requirements template must be presented in all design schedules. It also states that more detailed templates and project-specific schedules are encouraged. To further develop a schedule, you will need to add additional tasks. When adding additional tasks, it is highly recommended that you add to the generic tasks presented in the minimum requirements template. For example, my schedule is for a bridge rehab, and from my experience, I know it's going to need a preliminary hydraulics report and a preliminary structural design. So to incorporate these tasks into my schedule, I will insert 2 new tasks and make them subtasks to develop PD through design approval. To do this, I right-click design approval and click insert task, and then I do it once more. To make them into subtasks, I select them both, and then I click the indent button. The justification for making them subtasks to develop PD is that when I minimize develop PD, the schedule retains the look and feel of the minimum requirements template. Other tasks you may want to add subtasks to are prepare semi-final design submission and the prepare final design submission tasks. Now that I created the new tasks, I have to rename them. To rename, double-click the task, make sure you're in the General tab, and enter the new name. I'll type in Preliminary Hydraulics Report, and I'll set the duration to 8 weeks. Next, I'll click the Predecessors tab in order to link the new task. I know that the predecessor to hydraulic work is the survey task, so I enter in the survey task ID number and I click OK. Now that I've set up a predecessor to my new task, I'm only half done creating the link. The next step is to assign a successor to the hydraulics report. This is because every task should have both a predecessor and a successor. Failing to provide this relationship will result in a poorly linked schedule. I know that the design approval milestone is the successor to preliminary hydraulics work, so I double-click on the design approval milestone, I make sure I'm in the predecessors tab, and I enter in the task ID number for the hydraulics task. Now I can see in the Gantt chart that there are lines with arrows going into and out of the hydraulics task, so I know it's now properly linked. Now I do the same thing for the second task. I double-click on the task, make sure I'm in the General tab, and then I enter Preliminary Structure Design for the name, and I estimate 6 months for the duration. Next, I go to the Predecessors tab and enter in the task ID number for secure funding and authorization, because we can start on the structural work when project initiation is complete. I click OK and then open up the task information for design approval, and I enter in the task ID number for the structure design in the Predecessors tab and then click OK. Another good step is to now go back and remove the links connected to the develop PD task. So I go to the predecessor cell and I click delete. And then I go to design approval and the predecessors tab and I delete the develop PD task. Now the justification for this is that it's redundant to link both summary tasks and subtasks. The recommended method is always just link your subtasks. It's important to note that you should not delete any tasks that are required in the minimum requirements template. If a project is anticipated to not require a task presented in the template, the best course of action is to set the duration to 1 day. Setting the duration to 0 will make the task appear as a milestone, which may be misinterpreted. If you choose to delete a task that is not a minimum requirement, you may do so by right-clicking a task and selecting Delete Task. Just remember that when you do delete a task, you may need to reassign a predecessor and/or a successor to relink your schedule. To exemplify how deleting a task may break an important schedule link, I'm going to delete the survey task. You can see that by deleting the survey task, I also remove the predecessor link for the preliminary hydraulics task, forcing everything in the Gantt chart to shift to the left. So now I need to reassign a new predecessor in order to relink the hydraulics task. Now I've corrected the hydraulics link and I'm good to go. This concludes tutorial 5. Hopefully you now have a better idea of how to insert, name, link, and delete tasks. Please proceed to tutorial video 6 to learn how to properly track schedule tasks and documents.